and welcome to my channel. I'm Kyla, and this video today is a most likely part 1 of a series on WeWoreWhat, or Danielle Bernstein, aka We Stole What, because the controversy surrounding her has always fascinated me. Hopefully it does interest you guys as well. If not, I might not bother making the other parts of the videos, so make sure to let me know down below if this is a topic that you're interested in. And this video, which is part 1, is going to focus all on the different instances of her copying from smaller brands and smaller creators. Now, before we get started, make sure to go down below and hit subscribe so you can see the upcoming parts to this series if we end up going that route and if you guys are interested in that. And my Instagram and Twitch are also linked down below, as well as they'll be up on the screen here if you want to hang out with me between uploads. On Twitch, I've mainly been playing like The Sims and Animal Crossing. It's just kind of chill, but we can chat over there. And then of course my Instagram, I'm pretty much always on there. So, but with that being said, we will go ahead and get into it because there is a lot to unpack here. And I will say in this video, I do have like a ton of notes on my computer. I wrote out all the notes myself, but I'm just gonna end up looking over there a little bit throughout the video. Hopefully that's not too annoying, just because I don't want to get anything wrong or like retell the details of something incorrectly. I want this to be as accurate as possible, and my memory is so bad that like if I look at it and then go to say it, I'm gonna mess it up. But anyways, so Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat has copied numerous different smaller brands and also smaller influencers throughout her time as a blogger and influencer herself. So she started out like fashion blogging, from what I saw, kind of like back before Instagram was like super poppin'. She was like one of the first fashion bloggers, it seemed, which really helped her to like pave the way and also create a name for herself, which, I mean, good on her. That's pretty cool, I think. After that, she decided to create her own fashion label. It used to be housed under, I think, Macy's, and now she's taken it kind of in her own direction and paired with a different design label. Of course, we are going to touch on all the specific instances of her being called out for copying other brands and designers. But before we get into that, I just kind of want to touch on like why this is important and why it's such a big issue. Not only with Danielle, she's just like a really popular example of this, but it happens all the time, and it's definitely something that we should care about. So first off, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but stealing people's work without proper credit or without paying them properly is just inherently not right. But unfortunately, this does happen a lot, especially to smaller brands and creators who don't often have the reach or financial ability to fight against these big brands for stealing their designs. Many large brands often will know that smaller indie brands aren't really going to be able to do a lot about the stolen work. So for example, if a fashion brand that has like 3-4 million followers on Instagram, super popular and well known, steals from an account that has maybe, let's say, 30,000 followers, like a small brand like that, the likelihood that the smaller brand is even going to be able to create enough noise about it for the big brand to notice or care or have to do anything is unfortunately a little bit slim. Thankfully, with social media, it's a lot easier for people to share and spread the word, which is why it's so important to call it out when you see this happening, because they are able to get somewhere through that. The other side of that too is oftentimes big brands will know that these small brands often aren't financially able to fight it, to copyright their designs, or to fight it in court, because unfortunately, even if you're in the right, it's still super expensive to go to court with a big brand, or with anyone for that matter. So I feel like a lot of the time larger brands feel like there's little to no consequence for stealing designs, and it allows them to quickly come up with a trendy idea and basically, you know, as fast fashion goes, really quickly slap it together and manufacture it and start selling it right away while it's still kind of trendy. And they feel like there's not a lot of consequence oftentimes, because sometimes people either don't know or can't get the word out, or they can't fight it. And then the other issue that sometimes comes into play, or that people will try to argue the other side of, is the idea of inspiration versus imitation. So fashion as a whole has literally always had inspiration. It's very rare that a brand can come up with an entirely new idea, especially now where, you know, the industry of fashion has been going for so long. It's pretty well impossible to think of something that no one has ever done before. As well, trends come in and out of style all the time, so we're always going to see older styles being recycled into newer styles that we can see and buy today. For example, like 70s style is like pretty in right now, or early 2000s, stuff like that. Like these trends always come back in, meaning that inspiration is going to be drawn from past designs into new ones. And part of the issue with that whole like inspiration versus imitation is that it can be very hard, or the line is often very blurred in between what is just inspired by, or even just like an instance of two people having a similar idea. Because like I said, there's so many brands creating so much all the time that it is likely that two people could just have the same or a similar idea. The other issue too with it is that oftentimes the brands that we see copying from smaller designers, whether it's Danielle or just other brands like Shein, for example, is quite notorious for it. Same with AliExpress, is it's these really fast fashion brands that essentially just steal an idea from a smaller designer, make it really fast, really cheap material, and start selling it right away. And that would be very disheartening as a smaller designer who spends a lot of time, energy, resources into creating designs for their brand to try to be unique and to try to get ahead, just for a big brand to copy the idea, slap it together really quickly, and sell it for half the price. So like I mentioned with Shein, AliExpress, even Fashion Nova is a big one that does that too. These fast fashion brands are notoriously ripping off small designers' work, and then they're able to sell it at a cheaper price, like I mentioned, because of things like unethical practices, using really cheap material, not paying workers properly, things like that. And that makes it almost impossible for smaller ethical brands to keep up. Like, they might have a design and just post it, but next thing they know, if Fashion Nova's already made thousands of them and is shipping them out the next day, it's really hard to even get ahead of that before it's too late, if that makes sense. And then, as I mentioned, the other issue is like credit or paying designers. Larger brands have the capability to hire on these smaller designers to make a piece for their line, or even at least like promoting their work instead of just copying it. Like, Danielle could easily, instead of copying all the brands that we're going to get into, she could just tell people where she got the outfit from to begin with instead of stealing the idea, and that could literally change a small designer's life. Being shouted out by large brands or large influencers as a smaller account or a small business, that can be a game changer. And a lot of the time, instead of doing that, unfortunately, these brands will not say anything, and then they'll just copy it because they want to make 100% of the money off of that, which is really greedy and also just like a really shitty thing to do, honestly. And I'm gonna quote, this is an article that I saw just kind of about the issue of designs being copied as a whole. So this isn't specific to Danielle or WeWoreWhat, but I thought it really did give a good idea of kind of what I'm talking about here. I'm gonna read it directly just because I don't want to mess up the quote, of course. And I'll have the article linked down below, of course, if you want to check it out or read the whole thing. But it says, such was the case of Carrie Fry, the founder of clothing brand Subsurface, who shortly after launch found her signature cutout silhouettes on the digital racks of an Instagram-friendly trend-forward e-shop. The first time I saw, and then in brackets, the knockoffs, I was upset, she tells Refinery29. According to her, one of the brands also used her exact imagery to sell the product. Fry asked the retailer to remove the product from its site, and it did. While she considers the incident resolved and as such has chosen not to name the brands, the entire ordeal soured Fry's perception of the industry. I was aware that small brands often get knocked off. What surprised me was how tapped in these larger brands and corporations were at an early stage, and how quickly they pounce on trendy pieces by brands with little to no visibility. And like I said, that's a perfect example of just how quickly and how early a design can be copied and being sold by these fast fashion brands before the designer can even really get ahead of it. And like she said, thankfully the brand took it down with, you know, not really a big issue. But the reality of that is they probably did take it down so quick with no issue because they've already done that to so many other people that they're like, whatever, what's one piece, we'll just take it down, avoid the issue, steal from someone else who's not going to notice. And like she said as well, they were also using the pictures from her brand page to sell them. So this is something I've seen happen a lot on like Amazon, AliExpress, Shein, stuff like that. Like, I have seen dresses from brands and then the exact same photo is on AliExpress, and I know that whatever you would order if you ordered it would not be the same thing or of the same quality at all. But it really sucks as well because oftentimes if someone is like browsing on those sites, which I get it, like sometimes fast fashion is the only like affordable option for people. I obviously don't love fast fashion and I don't really like to support it, but I also understand sometimes it's like people's only option. But with that too is you'll see this picture and you think that's what you're getting, and it's not at all what you receive in the mail. So it's bad for the consumer as much as it is bad for the brand that's gotten ripped off as well, especially because there is no credit. So there's no way for the consumer who's just browsing and seeing these things to really find like the true source of the image. So now that we've established that this is an issue and why it's such a widespread issue, we're going to focus on the very specific example that you probably all came here for, which is Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat, because it's a lot from her and it's a really huge issue. I'm going to cover all the instances I could find. I wouldn't be surprised if there was even more than this to come out, or even more that kind of got swept under the rug or that people didn't realize, just because of how consistently this happens. And within a lot of these examples as well, there really isn't the question of inspiration versus imitation. As you'll notice, it's pure imitation, because a lot of them she actually reaches out to the brands first to get free product before taking it for her own brand. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it. I will link down below, of course, the article that I got this from. I found a couple different articles compiling all of the different instances. Also a picture right here, which is like a little chart of all the times they noted that this happened. So yeah, we'll get into it. Kicking off with May of 2018, Danielle was accused of copying a few different jewelry lines when she launched a collaboration with a company called Lulu DK for Nordstrom. So Instagram account Diet Prada, which get used to that name because we're gonna be talking about them a lot too, called out WeWoreWhat for copying numerous designers that included Tiffany & Co., Retrouvé, I probably pronounced it all wrong, Founder Ray, and Bondi Jewelry. On May 6th, they said about this at WeWoreWhat, and I'll pop it up here in case you want to pause to read it yourself. Did you miss the memo on social responsibility in 2018? Because it seems like your jewelry line with Lulu DK Lifestyle for Nordstrom is cherry-picked out of your personal jewelry collection. Pieces from hardworking designers who not only shared their work with you, but some even invited you into their homes. Pretty cruddy way to show support for Founder Ray, Retrouvé, sorry, and Bondi Jewelry if you ask us, coming for that Tiffany & Co. dog tag too. And then as you can see the pictures, I'll show them here. Danielle's pieces are on the right side, and then the ones from her collection are on the left, so like her personal jewelry collection. So we have the first one, which is from Founder Ray, the second one, which is a copy of Retrouvé, I'm so sorry about that one. The next one's Bondi Jewelry, and then the last one is Tiffany & Co. dog tag. So yeah, I would say they all look incredibly similar, and the fact that Danielle like owns those pieces and apparently even has like been friends with or hung out with the Founder Ray CEO, that seems really, really intense. And according to Insider, Danielle posted a video of her crying on her Instagram story, and she made claims that the line was inspired by a vintage locket she purchased at a flea market after her grandfather had passed away. She did end up removing the few pieces from the collection, though not before posting an apology on her story that centered more around her feelings and the hate she received than the actual issue. And I'll read her apology as well, just because I think it's very telling. I'll also have it up here, but the picture is like not the best quality. It's just the only one I could find, but I'll read the whole thing too. So it says, as you know, I've been really excited about the launch of my jewelry collaboration with Lulu DK x WeWoreWhat, which was inspired by a vintage locket I purchased at a flea market after my grandfather passed away a year ago. Thank you to everyone who has shown support thus far. It has been extremely upsetting and frustrating to be on the receiving end of a vicious online campaign to inaccurately paint the Lulu DK x WeWoreWhat collaboration in a negative light. Based on misrepresentations, these attacks are especially hurtful because they go far beyond this jewelry collection and have become incredibly personal. Above all, my name and integrity have been dragged through the mud on the one thing that has given me so much success and joy in my life, social media. I would never in a million years deliberately copy or attempt to knock off another brand's work. I said from the beginning that my collaboration was inspired by vintage and high-end jewelry pieces. My pieces are different from those saying I stole their designs. My goal has and always will be to bring quality product at an affordable price point to my followers, and I will not be deterred by anyone. I will stand by my values and the truth. That being said, the past couple of days have been devastating for me. I have never experienced such malicious hatred in my life. My character being called to question has broken my heart. To show everyone that I will always do the right thing and have deep respect for the creative communities I work with and those in my industry, I will be pulling a few pieces from our 27-piece collection that have come into question. Please respect our decision and stop with the hateful comments. I will not give such negativity a voice on my feed. To my followers, I am still extremely proud of this collection I worked so hard on and hope you will continue to support me. I built my brand on being authentic and true, and I will never stray from that. We look forward to the launch on May 9th. Which, yeah, that's kind of a lot. I need to drink water because that was long as hell. I just feel like that whole apology was centered around the hate she was supposedly receiving, which I just find if there's an apology to be made, you need to just apologize without saying, well, you did this and you did that, and kind of like blaming her audience. As well, I feel like it's important to recognize the difference between criticism and hate, which we talk about a lot here, just because oftentimes when influencers or brands are called into question, they don't see any of what people are saying as valid. They just blanket it all as hate, maliciousness, negativity for no reason, when really copying designs from products you already own, especially from like smaller brands, is just not okay, and that's something that deserves to be called out, obviously. But yeah, the apology itself just gave me a bad taste in my mouth, and I find this really funny because this is the first instance we have noted, which is in 2018, and she says that she values like being truthful and authentic and that she will never stray from that. But ever since then, it's just been kind of like a downhill spiral of more and more instances like this. But anyways, yeah, we'll continue on. The next instance after that I have documented here is from March of 2020. However, there were a couple of things that came out later that sort of occurred over a longer stretch of time, so I'll touch on that. But the next one isn't until 2020, where Danielle is accused of copying a brand called Cecilie Bahnsen, and I apologize again if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Some of these brands I actually hadn't heard of until I was doing my research for this, so it's kind of hard because I've only read the names and never heard them said aloud. On March 6, 2020, again, Diet Prada, not all heroes wear capes, pointed out that a piece in Danielle Bernstein's collection with Macy's looked like a ripoff of a dress she wore in 2019 by Danish designer Cecilie Bahnsen. The post by Diet Prada reads, and I'll put it up here. So it says, when you meet the designer while wearing her design, then release it in your next line the next month. LOL. Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat has a history of swiping a little more than just inspiration from designers she has relationships with, so when her Macy's collab dropped yesterday, we were on alert. One dress in particular stood out, albeit with minor changes. It's not a groundbreaking design by any means, but the puff sleeve tiered baby doll dress has been a signature of Danish designer Cecilie Bahnsen's collection for several seasons now. And we know Danielle Bernstein is fond of them, having been spotted in a 2019 version alongside the designer herself at an event at Bergdorf Goodman. Sorry if I'm pronouncing all of this wrong. I probably sound like such a pleb, but you know, it is what it is. In February, and gramming another style in November last year, but maybe archive those posts next time. These receipts were way too easy to find. And here's the picture. So right up here, we have the Macy's photo, which is Danielle's dress, and this is her with the designer in the other dress. And then in the next post, it's just the comparison of them. So you can see they are very, very similar. I mean, obviously, like they said, it's not a groundbreaking design, but when you know Danielle's history, it's hard to look at it as just coincidence, especially where, like they said, she literally owns the other dress and even wore it when meeting the designer, so she's very aware of that style being quite iconic for Cecilie Bahnsen. And then here's the other picture where she is wearing another one of Cecilie Bahnsen's puff sleeve baby doll dresses. It looks like she's in a Nordstrom compared to her design, and there's all three of them there on the last picture. I definitely find them really similar. I don't mind there's much that really sets them apart where you're like, oh, I can tell which one's not it. Like, especially looking at this last picture here with all three designs, I know because of what they said in the picture, but if I just saw all three of these laid side by side, I wouldn't be able to identify like which was Danielle's versus which were the other brands. They have very similar like necklines, the tiered style and the puff sleeves, and even like the pastelish colors of the one that Danielle owns, the blue, versus the green one she created for Macy's. I just feel like it's too much to overlook. It's like too similar to really ignore. And again, like they said, even though it is a really popular style, knowing Danielle's history, you kind of have to look at everything through a very specific lens. And the next instance we have is July 2020. Danielle copies a brand called By Second Wind. On July 20th, 2020, Danielle again faces backlash and is called out by Diet Prada for copying a mask design from a small Latina-owned business called By Second Wind. And again, I'll read their post. I'm going to be reading a lot of their posts just because it is where I got the information, and I wouldn't want to take credit for their post and make it seem like this is all like my words when that's where I got the information. Here's the Diet Prada post. It says, "You'd think WeWoreWhat would have learned not to leave a paper trail by now." American Influencer Council founding member Danielle Bernstein announced today that her shop WeWoreWhat line would shortly be stocking linen masks adorned with a safety chain. It's a cute idea, and she appears to have lifted it directly from By Second Wind, who began offering the masks June 1st. On June 29th, Danielle reached out to the brand via DM and hustled some free masks. On July 2nd, she messaged again with the heads up that she was launching her own masks. Don't worry though, according to Danielle, they're not a copy. Well, she finally showed them today, and they're nearly identical. From the linen fabrication down to the unique loop design at the sides to hold the chain. Not sure how this is helping to sustain the integrity of influencer marketing for the ultimate benefit of society as per AIC's goals, but at least there's one bright side. After her carefree summer gallivanting around the Hamptons, Danielle is finally wearing a mask. Oof. And here's the pictures of them. You can see the similarities. They look identical, like there's no denying that at all. They have a slightly different cut by the nose. I definitely prefer the By Second Wind one personally. And then here is the chat between the two of them, which is just, I find even more cringe because not only are you copying the design, but you had the nerve to ask them for a mask first, so you probably took it to your design team and said, hey, make this, which is just ridiculous. And I mean, at least, come on, if you're gonna rip their design off, at least pay for it first. But no, she has to get it for free. cute. So she says, OMG, yes I need, just saw on TM, I don't know what that means. And then she sent her address and they said, hi Danielle, would love to send you, what color would you like? Obviously they're assuming, great, you know, huge influencer, gonna get us a lot of business. She says nude with chain and black with rings. And then she said, they said also if you can send me your measurements, I can make sure it fits perfectly. And then you can see the next message. So that one was on June 29th that she asked for the free masks. And then on July 2nd, she says, babe, I thought I should let you know I'm also making masks with a detachable chain, similar to the sunglass chains I own. Didn't want you to think I'm copying, still so excited for yours. Masks are a different shape too. Which, like, why wouldn't you mention that at first? I mean, we know why. It's because she was actually just copying the idea. Because you would think if you were doing that all along, first of all, why would you reach out to your competitor for a free mask if you're making the exact same thing? But also, you wouldn't think that you would wait until after they agreed to send you a free one to be like, oh, I'm actually doing the same thing, by the way. I just don't want you to think I'm copying. Like, okay, it might not have seemed like that initially, but now that you've asked for a free one, it does. And then here's a picture of Danielle putting on hers versus the buy second win one again. And they did include a video of her showing it too, which I'll play.
It'll match your overalls. And yes, we're gonna have black linen overalls too soon. So, yay! Hey. Okay guys, so these will be available on Shop WeWoreWhat starting next Wednesday, and the chains come in silver and gold, and they're so lightweight. Like, it was important to me to have this like sunglass chain look, but I wanted it to be lightweight enough where you didn't feel like you had it on. And so this is how you wear it, and you can change silver or gold. We're gonna be selling them as a little pack or on their own. Aren't they so cute? Excited because they'll match.
Yeah. Great. So this one is like a true doozy because she literally asked or kind of like demanded the brand for a free mask in June, as shown in the receipts there. Presumably they thought she was going to like promote them and tag them if she was seen wearing it, which would have been like great for business, which I think just that's so cringe. And I think the reason why she asked them for a free one to begin with is because she needed theirs for research of what she was going to make hers like. So she thought they looked cute and wanted to copy it directly, which means she needed one in hand to see the material, the chain, and so on. But yeah. And then the next instance is literally right after that in July of 2020. See what a persistent issue this is, where Danielle is stealing a design from an Etsy shop called Art Garments and plotting to make the same design for her site. She didn't actually get as far as to do it though because she was called out before that. But Danielle posted a pic of herself in some vintage from the 90s shorts on July 15th. And then on July 30th, I don't even have to say it again, but of course I will because credit is important. Diet Prada posted to call attention to Danielle planning to rip off the design from Australian Etsy shop Art Garments. Here is the post, and of course I'm gonna read it again to you guys. I know this is probably very repetitive, but I feel like, to me, it's really interesting anyways, and it's so important to note, like, it didn't just happen once or twice, this happens consistently. But here is the post that they said on July 15th, Danielle Bernstein, aka WeWoreWhat, posted a picture wearing a pair of simple marigold shorts. Woke up to so many DMs about these shorts. They're vintage gym shorts from the 90s and I'm already remaking them for my brand. The influencer said, adding that she always finds inspiration in the vintage pieces she collects. But Australian Etsy shop Art Garments receipts tell a different story. Since 2011, Grace Corby has been collecting vintage and selling curated finds online. I hand source, shoot, edit, and upload, measure, and describe, hand wrap, and post each piece myself. It's a labor of love and never really feels like work, she said. Corby's only non-vintage item is a pair of simple elastic waist shorts which are clearly listed as a pre-order. After an uptick in sales when her shop was tagged in the comments of WeWoreWhat's post, she searched her past orders, finding that Bernstein had purchased 2 pairs on November 11th, 2019. As with the chain masks, the issue is not the originality of the item, but the apparent conscious choice to exploit smaller businesses. We all know fashion often references vintage, so I'm not sure why my pairs were chosen as a template and not a true 90s gym short, Corby said. Her own shorts are based off a $3 Berlin flea market find, worn until the waist lots is stretched. I took what remained to a local seamstress with some amendments, longer, wider legs for a bit more coverage, stretchier waist. Many designers reference vintage and always have. The best transform it by adding their own flavor, even to basic items. There are ethical ways to use vintage in the inspiration and design process, tweaking and personalizing, ensuring you're not siphoning credit and revenue from a small Aussie shop. Bernstein has since updated her caption, "These are from Etsy and I totally thought they were vintage, but they are made to order. Someone on my team ordered them for me a while back. I will not be making them. Odd considering it still says she collects her own vintage pieces. Some free advice for Danielle: save yourself the scandal and visit a thrift shop or flea market yourself. And here's the picture of the Etsy shop listing, and it says influencer throws her team under the bus after getting called out for copying an Etsy seller. Danielle Bernstein was in the process of reproducing what she claimed were vintage shorts, but an Australian Etsy shop owner's receipts tell a different story. And there's the two pictures, and you can see them here. They're the exact same ones on her with the Etsy shop. And then she did correction, these are from Etsy. I totally thought they were vintage. So personally, my take on that one is I don't even really think she thought they were vintage. I think she bought them and figured that no one would notice or call her on it, and she didn't bother to check if they were an original design or not. I can understand a little bit the confusion, just if the shop sells a lot of vintage and also their own designs made to order. I can understand why you might just think, oh, well, they sell vintage, these shorts must be vintage, if you don't really look. But if you're gonna take a design to remake for your website, definitely I feel like a due diligence is required there to actually see where the design comes from, because if you look at the Etsy selling, like in the post here, it's very easy to tell that it's a made to order item based on how they describe the shorts and the measurement, like the Etsy seller said. Also, I find the casualness of Danielle saying, I'm totally gonna make these for my shop, it's just like, it says a lot to me. That's just not really how that works. You can't just have something that you wear, have a bunch of people like it, and then decide to rip it off and make your own. Like, just credit where you got it from, you know? Why do you have to take every design that people like that you wear and make your own? We know why, and it's greed and money. She doesn't want to tell people where she bought her clothes. She'd rather sell it to them for money. But I just don't get how it's that hard for her to give even just a lick of credit to another brand. And like I mentioned in the beginning, a shout out from someone as like famous and popular as Danielle could be pretty life-changing for a smaller brand, right? Like, instead of saying, oh, you like my shirt, I'm just gonna make my own. If I said, oh, I got this shirt from Art Garments on Etsy, that's huge for a smaller brand. And like they said, they even got a huge uptick in orders just from someone tagging the brand in the comments. So imagine if Danielle had been forthcoming right from the start and said where the clothes were from that she wears instead of copying it. And just to put it into perspective a little bit, just because I don't think you guys realize like how small of a brand she's willing to rip off, and a lot of times it is because of their size. But today, like, or when I checked this anyways, a couple days ago, Danielle has 2.6 million followers and Art Garments has 7,000. So even if she just tagged them and shouted them out, it could have been pretty life-changing for the brand. Numbers definitely aren't everything. Like, you can have a super successful brand at 7,000 followers, or you can have kind of no one care about your product at 1 million followers. It's definitely not everything, but in the world of social media, followers and engagement have a lot to do with sales. Obviously, if you have 1 million engaged followers that are buying what you are talking about or that want to buy the products that you're showing, that's really huge, and that can be life-changing to a 7,000 follower account in order to like get their name out there, you know, get them sales, things like that. I just don't know why it's so difficult for Danielle to just credit people or even just to tag where her clothes are from. I just find it so obnoxious in a way that instead of just saying, oh, this is where I got my shirt or my shorts or whatever, she has to like make it for her own brand and keep it under wraps so people don't know who she's copying. It's kind of like those people in school where you'd be like, oh, I love your top, and they'd be like, oh, well, it was the last one, I can't tell you where it's from. Oh, my friend bought it for me, I don't know where they got it, they won't check the tag. It kind of gives that same vibe, which I don't know if you guys know what I mean. Let me know down below if you had people around like that, but it definitely gives me that same kind of vibe. The next instance of copying was very shortly after, in October of 2020, and this one was like a huge issue with the Great Eros. Again, I'm really sorry if I'm saying these brand names wrong. It's probably so cringe to listen to it, but you know, what can I do? By the time it's posted, even if you guys correct me, it's too late. But this instance is a little bit more intense than others because there have been lawsuits filed on both sides. So Business Insider reported on the whole thing, and I'm gonna read a portion of the article now, but the full article will be linked in the description. But it says, lingerie brand The Great Eros accused Bernstein and her label WeWoreWhat of copying the pattern of female nudes that adorns Eros's tissue paper and selling swimsuits, wallpaper, and other merchandise with the stolen design. The legal battle between Bernstein's WeWoreWhat and the Great Eros kicked off in October when WeWoreWhat and swimsuit brand Onia, which is the like label that Danielle goes through for her brand, filed a complaint against the Great Eros, claiming that they didn't violate any intellectual properties laws and saying the design was not copied. In a statement on social media in October, Bernstein said that her company's pattern was influenced by Matisse's line drawings, not by Eros tissue paper. She she further denied allegations of copying, saying that she hadn't even bought or been given free merchandise from the store, and that she had checked with WeWoreWhat's designers and found that they were not aware of Eros's pattern either. Eros' counsel, Jeff Gluck, told Business Insider strongly pushed back on these claims in an interview with Business Insider in October. He said that he had evidence in the form of showroom logs and gifting requests that proved that Bernstein visited Eros' showroom, not its retail store, and that Bernstein had previously requested free merchandise from the Great Eros, Gluck said. Gluck also clarified that in terms of intellectual property, Eros wasn't claiming that they owned the rights to line drawings of female nude. He said that the design similarities between Eros' tissue paper and WeWoreWhat's merchandise had multiple design similarities, such as the weight of the lines in the drawings and the way that the figures were arranged. And again, like I said, that'll be linked down below if you want to read the full article on that. And of course, we are also going to cite again Diet Prada, who called them out on October 16th, 2020, and I will read that post to you now. So they said, Danielle Bernstein, aka WeWoreWhat, has been pretty quiet since recovering from COVID, but it seems like she's been busy with some other tasks, namely filing lawsuits against small companies. The Great Eros, a 4-year-old Brooklyn-based lingerie brand and shop, has just announced they're being sued by Bernstein and her manufacturing partner, Onia. In August, the Great Eros accused Bernstein of copying the signature nude print from their packaging and applying it to items for her shop WeWoreWhat line, including swimwear, scarves, and even wallpaper. After sending a cease and desist to WeWoreWhat on August 10th, the Great Eros was met with the surprise lawsuit on October 15th after Jeff Gluck, counsel for the Great Eros, claims were some veiled settlement talks. After denying their initial claims and any possible connection with the brand, Bernstein and Onia's declaratory judgment lawsuit is still seeking the court to affirm that their print does not infringe on the Great Eros' copyright, namely that it was inspired by the generally ubiquitous concept of silhouette drawings of the human form. The Great Eros, however, claims they have received proving Bernstein and Onia's connection to the brand. Receipts provided to us show an alleged gifting request from Bernstein after a showroom visit on August 23rd, 2018, and a web order from an Onia founder on August 15th. In a series of Instagram stories, the Great Eros, now defendants, responded to the lawsuit. Danielle is taking us for everything we own over a design that she allegedly stole from us and is now suing us to bully us into submission. The post read, no, you didn't just sue us with this lawsuit, you sued every small independent designer, business owner, and artist. And that is 100% true and so sad. Here are pictures of it here so you can see in the photo the two designs. The next post is just of the lawsuit, which I'm not going to get too much into that because obviously I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about law. But there's the two pictures of the designs. The Great Eros is on the left, Danielle's is on the right, and they do look super similar, I will admit that. And here's another picture just comparing them more up close. And then here's the Instagram stories from the Great Eros. So they said, dear friends, Danielle Bernstein at WeWoreWhat and at Onia filed a lawsuit against us yesterday. Yes, you read that right, they sued us. Over the past 4 years, we have been working our asses off as a small brand to make all of you feel good and create things with integrity using sustainable practices we know make people feel confident in their own skin and items all of you can cherish for years to come. At this moment, it's all being stripped away because Danielle is taking us for everything we own over a design that she allegedly stole from us and is now suing us to bully us into submission. Guess what, Danielle? It won't work this time. We will gladly be the brand to set the precedent and fight back against you and your oppression until the moment you try to close our doors. Even if we have to spend every penny we have in court for years to come, we will be relentless in our pursuit for justice against you. No, you didn't just sue us with this lawsuit, you sued every small independent designer, business owner, and artist, and thanks to you, we are finally now united against you. P.S. Onia and Macy's, shame on you for being complicit and endorsing an influencer with such a lack of integrity. Know that it only looks poorly on your brands. Onia, your future orders will be blocked. WeWoreWhat, stop asking us for free product. And then you can see this is apparently like a PR request for gifting. The order confirmation from someone and the domain of their email is at Onia, and then another picture with the lawsuit. Now, this one is a little bit tough because I do know personally like a lot of brands using the kind of line work of like implied nudity or nude like female forms. I've seen that before, but I think it's important to note that much like the Great Eros even said themselves, they don't think they invented that or that they own that as a whole, but it's just like the direct similarities that seem copied paired with the fact that there were gifting requests and an order put through by Onia, which is the brand that designs Danielle's swimwear. It does seem suspicious for sure. And like I said earlier, is that you do have to look through a very specific lens when looking at these instances with Danielle versus literally any other brand, just because of the frequency that she does this, where she asks for free stuff, she copies the designs. It definitely definitely seems a lot more intentional. And the other issue I have with it as a whole is Danielle suing a small brand like that. I mean, yeah, sure, she probably doesn't think she did anything wrong, and whether she did or didn't is kind of neither here nor there, but it's such a disrespect to be such a well-off person and well-off brand and try to sue, basically, like they said, sue into submission a small brand where like that can literally ruin their business or cause them to go bankrupt, and during a pandemic, no less. I think that just speaks so much to Danielle's character as a whole. I wasn't able to find like full details on the outcome of this. There might not be any outcome as of yet. I did find one update from Wednesday, November 11th in 2020. It says on Wednesday, the Great Eros filed a copyright infringement lawsuit of its own against Bernstein and her company WeWoreWhat LLC. Other defendants include Onia LLC, Saks Fifth Avenue, Shop Up, and Carbon 38, each of which have sold the alleged infringing items that bear the print in question. And then it does say, in addition to copyright infringement claims, the Great Eros is bringing forth trademark claims describing the graphic called CV Design as a source identifier and signature of the brand. The complaint alleges that consumers could mistakenly believe the WeWoreWhat products are associated with the Great Eros and that such confusion would damage the latter's reputation due to the product's low quality. It also accuses the defendants of unfair business practices. The Great Eros says it's entitled to preliminary and permanent injunctions prohibiting the defendants from continuing to produce and sell the items in question, as well as all funds obtained via those items, punitive damages, and attorney's fees and expenses. It also asks for a judgment that the defendants have engaged in unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent business practices and unfair competition. The Great Eros has also been granted successful registration of its design with the U.S. Copyright Office, according to its lawyer, Jeff Gluck. So again, that to me is a bit unclear because I'm not a lawyer on whether there's like a solution or if that's what they're putting forth and the court still has to decide. But that was an update. It's from an article on fashionista.com, which I'll have that link down below. I have every single article and account that I mentioned linked down below in case you want more detail, just because, like I said, I can't get into that whole lot because I don't really understand it a whole lot. But we will move on to the next one, which is just a month later. On November 2020th, Danielle copied a brand called Grayscale. So in November 2020, Danielle posted on Instagram a sneak peek of her holiday collection with Macy's, which featured a black patent leather skirt that was an exact ripoff of a brand she purchased the skirt from, which is called Grayscale, in 2017. On November 16th, called Danielle once again, showing proof that Danielle had purchased the skirt from Grayscale. Here's their post about it. So yeah, as you can see in their post, they're calling her out for it. There is an update saying she removed the skirt from her page. And here's the two photos. So the first image here is a picture of Danielle wearing the Grayscale skirt, which I guess it was 4 years ago at the time. So in 2016 she wore it. They posted on their story, 4 years ago, WeWoreWhat messaged me on Instagram and purchased the skirt for me. Now she's doing a collab with Macy's using my exact same design. As a black designer, or constantly copied without credit. And that's another thing to note, is not only is she copying smaller business, but she's also copying businesses from black creators, Latina creators, you know, people of color, where they're unfortunately so underrepresented and underpaid, and oftentimes their work is ripped off the most, which is really not right. And it just adds a whole another layer of like insult to the situation that she would do this instead of like properly crediting black creators and creators of color. But here's the picture of the skirt in question. So there's Danielle wearing it in the picture. Here's the Grayscale skirt on their website and Danielle holding it, it looks like. And then here's a picture of the holiday collection from Danielle with the patent skirt, and you can see like the top of it has the exact same design. It's a patent material. It has the same seams in the front as well. Like it literally does look identical, and Danielle owns the skirt. And there they are side by side. Obviously the picture of Danielle's looks a little bit whack, but it's because it's not filled out. The Grayscale one, they have it kind of filled out so you can see the shape. But that one's really bad because it's literally an exact copy. Like I can't even try to point out something that might be slightly different. It looks the identical same. And she has such a history of just taking things from her closet and remaking it and slapping her own name on it, which is just not okay at all. And then the next instance was not even a month later. It was still in November 2020, where she copied a brand called Liv the Process. In November 2020, an activewear brand called Liv the Process exposed Danielle for stealing designs, again after requesting clothes directly from the brand earlier in 2020, as shown in this screenshot here. Co-founder of Liv the Process, Jared Vare, said he received messages from friends saying that Danielle's line with Macy's was selling a similar top. As stated in a Business Insider article, Vare said he was shocked that you could literally get a gift from someone in good faith and just turn around, turn it to your team of people and just forget about it. He said he posted an Instagram story about the incident but did not contact Bernstein or Macy's. And here's the pictures. So these are the two tops in question. The left is Liv the Process and the right, the like slightly longer one, is WeWoreWhat. And then here's the picture of Danielle saying, OMG, I need, so cute, what else you got? Send me all the cozies. And then they were saying, you know, what do you like? Go to the website and pick something, which again, like the owner Jared said, it's so crappy too to literally ask for the product, not even pay for it. So the brand is assuming, okay, well, at least this will be great exposure. Oftentimes brands will gift things to bigger influencers because the exposure they get for it, almost like the item pays for itself because they'll get more orders and things through that. So a lot of times they will be generous in gift to especially large influencers like Danielle. And for her to turn around and just copy the design exactly is not only really crappy, but it also just seems so stupid. Like, I don't know why she thinks she can do this so many times, be called out so many times, and still keep doing it. Like, it just seems so whack. Like, I don't know what to say. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, she gets called out for the same thing over and over. There's proof in message form of DMs between them where she's like, send me everything. Not even saying please or thank you, mind you, just, oh, I love, send it, I need it. That's exactly how she addressed all the other brands too. It was like, I need, give it, and then just copies it without even saying thank you. Like, that's the bare minimum. And even that, obviously it wouldn't right to the wrong at all, but like, she just comes off as so like snarky and impolite while asking for these free items just to go and rip them off. So yeah, that's a rough one. So the next two instances I'm gonna go over happened in 2018, 2019, but they were exposed in 2021, in January 2021, by an exclusive Business Insider article. I will have the article linked down below. I'll let you know this article specifically is the only one that I actually had to pay to access. I paid for it so that you don't necessarily have to if you don't want to. I'll go over the important parts, but that article basically details the instances of her copying, but also specifically from designers who worked for Onia. I obviously can't include like the full article here because I'm sure that wouldn't be allowed seeing as it's like a paid article, but I did include just some of the more important information, but that is tagged down below in case you want to read it for yourself, the full thing. So the first instance out of that article was Dolce & Gabbana. So back in 2018, a designer who wished to remain anonymous that worked for Onia, a fashion label that specializes in swim, who, like I mentioned, works with Danielle, was told they were working on a line for Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat. They claimed to have been super excited to work on the line, given Danielle's big name and success, but that excitement wore off in 2019 when working on swim pieces for the WeWoreWhat 2019 Italy collection. According to the designer, Danielle brought in fabric from a fashion brand, Dolce & Gabbana, that featured red, yellow, and blue flowers. It was a design she had worn on her own Instagram. Danielle told the team to create something similar, and this was confirmed by another designer as well, who said Danielle did in fact bring the fabric and also has a mood board for the Italy collection containing pictures from the Dolce & Gabbana runway. The designer said, as quoted here by Business Insider, I would try to take little details and interpret them with my own handwriting, she said, but Bernstein rejected print after print, she added. She recalled Bernstein pointing to the Dolce & Gabbana print and saying, no, I want this. The designer continued, I remember being super nervous, and the designer said, we went with a very Dolce & Gabbana print because that's what Danielle wanted. And here's the picture of the print on the screen here now, which you can see, and she actually wore that exact same print already on her Instagram. So again, this is a very classic example of Danielle taking something that's already in her wardrobe and completely ripping it off and copying it. The next example, which was also exposed in 2021, was from a brand called RUMI. So the next line that Danielle allegedly brought pieces in from was a crop top from the brand RUMI, as detailed in the same Insider article. The two designers from Onia said it wasn't just Dolce & Gabbana that Danielle brought in. Danielle has also previously posted on her Instagram wearing the same RUMI tops back in black and white in 2018. And here's a picture of the tops right there. In these instances, neither RUMI or Dolce & Gabbana commented, and Onia attempted to use that to leverage their side in the Insider article, stating neither RUMI nor Dolce & Gabbana made allegations of copying. Onia said in its statement to Insider, the company described both accusations as complete fabrications seemingly provided by a disgruntled former employee. The Insider article also says that when asked for evidence that the allegations were fabricated, Onia said, given the confidentiality confidential nature of these matters, we do not share internal design materials with third parties, but can confirm that following an internal review of such materials, example the related mood boards, we have not found any information that would support these allegations. RUMI, Shopbop, and Bloomingdale's did not respond to requests for comments. But I think that's pretty crappy just because, I mean, a lot of time like these bigger brands probably just couldn't be bothered to talk about it, or they knew like, you know, we're a big brand, we would have to do a lawsuit, and they might have just like not wanted to bother, but that doesn't mean that copying is okay or that it didn't happen. And the fact that Onia tried to leverage that by saying, oh, well, they didn't comment, so it must not be true, it's just not only inaccurate, but that's just kind of a shitty way to look at it. Like, that doesn't make what you're doing okay. And something else I wanted to quickly touch on in the Insider article is past Onia employees also stated that they did see an employee copying the Great Eros design. However, I don't think that claim was ever able to be proven at all, so obviously this is just alleged. Personally, I don't doubt it. That's just my opinion, purely my own opinion. But yeah, like I said, it's just alleged. There's no way of knowing that. It just isn't entirely surprising to me at all. And some other important information that came from the Insider article, which again is all alleged information for employees who apparently they gave their name, but they didn't want their names to be used in the article. Basically, they gave their name to confirm their employment with Onia, but they didn't want their names used in the article for fear of professional repercussion. But multiple employees who worked with Danielle directly stated they didn't feel that the WeWoreWhat collection valued design integrity. Several people working for Onia or under Danielle said she has a tendency to closely imitate contemporary clothes from her own wardrobe, which is highly unusual in the fashion industry. They also said a lot of designers could not work on projects with Danielle when working for Onia because they cared too deeply about their design philosophy to copy other designers' work. So a lot of them didn't even want to work on the projects because even though it probably would have been great for their pay or, you know, for their name as a designer, they didn't want to because they knew that it would end up in them having to copy other people's work. And obviously as a designer, they would respect other people's designs more. And a designer who actually still works with Onia said they try not to copy, but when push comes to shove, Danielle gets what she wants, which, yikes, that says a lot to me. And in June 2020, Danielle landed on the New York Times bestseller list, although there was a disclaimer that was stating possible bulk ordering. So that's another kind of yikes moment, like if they have to give that type of disclaimer, and they do, they always give that disclaimer if they suggest that something could be a little bit suspicious there. Danielle also claims that she is the designer of her pieces, which to me seems like delusion at its finest. Insider says that the designer and her boyfriend posted on Instagram about her work on the WeWoreWhat line, and Bernstein did not appear to like it. I have it in a screenshot here, which I will read to you too, but it says, "Babe, I know you're proud of helping me design, but this isn't really cool to take the credit," Bernstein wrote in a text message. She asked for changes to the social media posts and complained about the designer's bio. She added, "You made my designs come to life. I'm the designer." But no, you're literally not the designer. If I bring in like this shirt, again, I'll use this example, I'm like, oh, I like the colors, I like the tie-dye look, can you make something similar because that's my vision? And the other person designs the actual article of clothing, the cut, the color, the pattern, the texture, and so on. I'm not the designer for thinking of the idea. The designer is the person who made the design. That's literally why you hire designers. Again, I just think that's so crappy and like delusional that she thinks that she's the designer of these pieces when she has to hire designers on to make clothes that are just copies of things she already bought. If she truly was a designer, she'd probably have an easier time coming up with something original. The next and final example that I have her directly ripping off brands specifically is March of 2021, so quite recently, with the brand We Are Kin. So on March 28th, 2021, Dia Prada reported on the incident of Danielle copying designs from another Black-owned sustainable brand, We Are Kin. And they shared words from the owner and designer of We Are Kin, which I will share that with you here now. But here's the post. So Dia Prada says, "Is WeWoreWhat up to her old tricks again? This time, sustainable Black-owned brand We Are Kin says she's fallen victim to Danielle Bernstein's favored scheme." Founder said that she was approached by Bernstein for gifting her a silky, strappy maxi dress back in June during a push to support Black creators. Hoping her business might get a boost, she agreed to send her one. Now, Bernstein has posted a very similar dress as part of her Danielle Bernstein drop for April 8th. After social media users took to Instagram to call her out, the influencer posted a statement to her stories denouncing the accusations, and it says, "I'm sick and tired of being accused of stealing designs or content that I absolutely did not. I'm sick of screenshots of conversations without context or dates and part of something that looks similar," Bernstein said, despite said screenshots being clearly marked with time and date stamps. "These ridiculous claims for 15 minutes of fame are unfounded and unfair," she continued. "Sure, it's a simple dress, but with the receipts so we can only come to one conclusion here, is what Diet Prada said. And again, I 100% agree, but here are the pictures. So obviously we have on the left, We Are Kin, and then on the right is Danielle's dress. And there's the picture of a DM between Danielle Bernstein and We Are Kin sending the picture of the dress. And on June 4th, Danielle said, OMG, the last one, I love both white dresses. She said on June 5th, awesome, happy to send it out. Danielle said amazing, medium for the first and small for the short one. And then here's another picture of the white dress right next to Danielle's, which you can see like the exact silhouette. It's so similar, and the way that the straps like cross on the top and then kind of continue to cross down lower on the back, it's extremely similar. The shape on the side is the exact same as well. And then here's the screenshot of Danielle's response, and at the bottom it says, my team and our freelance designer who came on to create these collections work extremely hard, and I will not let our work be put down, which is ridiculous. And then someone replied and said, she asked my friend for a dress I happily paid 70 euros for, or 70 pounds for. My friend obviously hopes she can get exposure, but I've been telling her she will be next on Danielle's chopping board of knockoffs. For someone wanting to support Black designers, why couldn't she pay for it? Which that's such a good point. And I'm guessing this is a DM between Diet Prada. They said, what, when? So during June, in the push to support Black content creators, she found my friend, maybe through me because Danielle follows me, for that diversity clout. Basically, it's We Are Kin by my friend, and I've told Ngoni I hope she styles it and mentions you, but I'd watch her in case the white linen dress pops up on her store. So once again, that's another example of Danielle requesting the dress for free. The brand sends it out hoping for exposure and that it would pay off having a big influencer like Danielle wear their design and shout it out. But instead, obviously we can see Danielle copied the design and then took to her story to deny that, which it just seems so pointless to deny that because it's very obvious, like the writing is on the wall where she asked for the free dress and then comes out with her own. I don't know, it just seems like so obvious that it's a copy. It just adds an extra little sting to this one that she wanted to basically elevate Black voices and Black designers and show off some of their work, and it doesn't seem like that ever happened, and instead she just completely copied it. So to ask for the design, not even pay for it, and then copy it for her brand, it's textbook Danielle at this point, unfortunately. So as you can see from all of those examples, the overarching theme of Danielle wanting to get free stuff from small brands, not wanting to credit them, and then copying their work and their designs, it's absolutely like abhorrent to me, and it's a clear pattern of behavior at this point. I'm sure, as all of those instances that I documented can show you, it is a pattern of behavior. It's not a one-off or a mistake. It's not something she can just blame her team for. Like, this is very, very intentional and very obvious. Even in the last post that I read where Danielle's trying to claim that these brands are coming after her for 15 minutes of fame, yet I would say that's quite the opposite, because in literally almost all of these examples, Danielle reached out to the brand first to get free product from them before she goes on to like completely rip off the product that she got for free. This has even resulted in like TikToks and viral posts of smaller creators warning others to like block Danielle before she can copy them, because it's such a prevalent issue from WeWoreWhat. Danielle also has a history of not only stealing designs but also stealing ideas from smaller influencers. This is a lot harder to prove, I would say, which it really sucks because bigger influencers do this a lot, where they take someone's idea and don't give credit for it. And it sucks because it can very easily be a coincidence. Like I said, there's very few unique ideas on the internet these days anymore, and oftentimes someone else has already done something even if you think you're the first person to do it. But again, like a simple shout out from someone like Danielle could really change the life of a small influencer. Like, I know what it's like trying to get followers on Instagram or trying to build up your social media. It's like next to impossible these days. So if someone like Danielle would even say like inspiration and tag like a small creator, that would be huge for them. So one example of this is a TikTok from a creator called Kelsey Kotzer. I'm probably pronouncing the last name wrong, but her name is Kelsey. I'm gonna play her TikTok here now just so you can see the example. But yeah, I'll pop it on the screen for you guys.
Late November, I posted this reel showing you all the ways that I can wear my seamanette top. And I was so excited, so proud of it because I love it. Then a few days later, I don't even think a few days, like maybe one or two, Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat posted this photo. Very similar. I got a lot of attention for it because it seemed like pretty much copying. And I kind of brushed it off because it was like, you can wear that top in so many ways. Like maybe she just saw it and took inspiration, whatever. But yesterday I posted this photo and I'm so proud of it. I got a new fisheye lens. I had made my boyfriend take them in the same corner of my room that I've been taking my photos. And then literally minutes ago, Danielle posts this. As a small content creator, if she would have just put my name in the caption, that would change my life. 2.3 million people to see my name and see that like she's taking inspiration from me, that would be life-changing. And it's just so unfair that she just keeps taking inspiration with.
Anyway, so the end is basically inspiration without crediting. And again, the really unfortunate part about this is obviously it is so hard to say with something like an idea. The Instagram picture, especially like with that top, I could see a lot of people layering that top. But with the Instagram picture with like the 4 and like the different poses and the very similar like shirt, I think it was even the same shirt if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's literally the same cardigan. Kelsey just had it buttoned up, whereas Danielle has like the matching tank top underneath, but she's doing almost like the same poses. And it's like a 4 square grid. It's just like, it's incredibly similar, and for it to be like so close after in both instances definitely adds a little bit of validity to the statement as well, I find. But yeah, like I said, it's unfortunate because something like that is so difficult to prove. But when we take into account the history and like just the consistency in which Danielle is ripping off small creators and businesses, it's hard not to look at it like that. And then here's one more example from a TikToker who is kind of like calling her on the same thing. I'll play it here now. This one is by Cove's Essentials.
I posted a French twist video on our TikTok a few weeks back and went viral, got like 17 million views. This is the video. And look what Danielle Bernstein of WeWoreWhat just posted. I'm not saying we invented the French twist, and maybe she didn't even see our video, but it just seems like too much of a coincidence given her track record.
And again, in that one you can see like the layout, the clip, like everything was almost the exact same, and she said that their French twist hairstyle video got 17 million views. So honestly, it's pretty likely that Danielle saw it. I mean, I know between me and my friends, a TikTok might have like 2 million views, and we've all seen it on our For You page already. So again, like Cove Essentials said, she's not saying they invented it, but it's just when you know Danielle's track record and her history, it's so hard not to look at it through that lens. And the last video that I'm gonna play here for you now that we'll get into is an interview from Cheddar that Danielle Bernstein did, which shows her response when she's asked about her controversies.
It's been so great having you, but I do have to ask a tough question, and I know you can take it, but we know that you have a little bit of drama in the fashion world right now. Some designers accusing you of copying their designs. How do you sort of handle that in fashion? And is there any message that you want to give for your followers?
Yeah, I think that I've always shared the truth and have sort of provided the proof that all of those accusations are false. So, you know, social media, everyone really believes the first thing that they see these days. And all I have to say is, you know, do some research and, you know, believe somebody that you've been following for 10 years who has provided all of the proof that you need. And that's really it.
All right, Danielle Bernstein, entrepreneur and fashion designer. Thank you so much for joining.
So that one, it just kind of makes me laugh because she's like, I provided all the proof, but I've never seen a single lick of proof. The only one that she tried to prove was the Great Eros situation where she said that she was copying a different brand, which I don't even know why she thinks that makes it better. But that's the only one where she even had any proof. Like the jewelry one in the beginning, she said it was allegedly inspired by a vintage locket that she bought at a flea market, but the products that were copied were not lockets and they were designs that she's worn before. Same with like all of the dresses, the skirts, everything she's copied are things that she's worn, and the only receipts that I have seen shared are the ones that show her asking the brand for free product before she copies it. So she's never really disproven any of it at all. I would say she either ignores it, turns off her comments, and just pretends it's not happening, or she goes on to cry about how she's receiving hate online, which if she feels like she's getting hate, that does really suck, and I can imagine that being hurtful, but that's not proof or receipts, and you don't have to blindly follow someone or believe them just because you've been following them for a long time. Like that doesn't equate to proof at all. Anyways, so it's probably a long video. Those are all the different instances that I was able to find record of her copying other designers. I'm sure, unfortunately, that there's a lot more that just like haven't been called out or haven't been as publicized. But this is, believe it or not, just kind of the tip of the iceberg of criticism that Danielle gets. Obviously, the stealing from other people is kind of the worst, I would say, but there is a lot more that we could dive into. So let me know down below in the comments if you would like to see another part or two of the controversies surrounding Danielle. details such as like her overly photoshopping or the criticism that she's received on her philanthropy page WeWoreWhat, because that I find really, really interesting as well. With that being said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe so you can see more of my upcoming videos. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think about all this down below, because if you're anything like me, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Danielle and stealing other brands' work. And again, if you want to hang out between my uploads, my Twitch and my Instagram are on the screen as well as linked down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!